What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Triple H podcast. Happy Hour Hoops. Back again in the new year, talking ball. Football season almost coming to a close. We were talking a little bit about it before we started recording. Basketball season in the fullest of swings. It's a very strange season. We're going to talk about that during our temperature check on the year. But let's get into the hottest news, or the most recent news, guys. Jimmy Butler of the Golden State Warriors tore his ACL, out for season. Warriors currently sitting at the 8th seed. And I think if you're watching the NBA recently, you just have to say that the shit that's going on in Golden State is getting pretty weird. And we've had the Draymond stuff for years, right? Maybe he's been the problem. Steph's always had his back. Steph's not getting any younger. Steve Kerr rumors are coming out. Maybe this is his last year in Golden State. Where are we at with the Warriors, guys? It's almost a little sad with this news and the state of their team. Kuminga, obviously, throw that into the mix.
It's starting to give me like Trailblazers Damian Lillard vibe, where it's like you're just there to watch Steph to see if he has a couple monster games, and other than that, there's really nothing that moves the needle for this team. They're old. They're an old team. We looked at some of their young talent. And you talk about how weird is the Kuminga situation. It feels like we've had that for 2 years too, where he clearly
Yep.
doesn't want to be there. They clearly don't want him there. It's just a weird situation, right? You have the I can't say his last name. Good Lord, right now. B-Pod situation
Yeah.
where they were going to trade him for Laurie in the offseason. The Warriors were like, we're not going to do that. Now that looks even worse for the
Right.
Warriors that they wouldn't go to that. And it's just a situation in my mind where I think they're done. And it's weird to see when a dynasty ends, right? I feel like we always kind of hold out because dynasties nowadays have gone longer than they really ever have before across all sports. And the San Antonio Spurs were kind of the exception to that rule, where they just kept going year after year after year. And the Warriors getting 3 championships obviously was, in a short amount of time starts the dynasty, but it might be over. No more Clay. He's doing his own thing, just shucking up air balls for the Mavericks. And Draymond, like you said, the situation's weird. They haven't really replaced any of the talent there. Jimmy Butler was kind of like the Billy Mays meme, where you put the Band-Aid on the tank that's leaking, and it works for a while, but eventually it's going to run out of the stickiness. It's going to fall off, and the floodgates are going to open. And I feel like that's kind of what this injury did. I think Jimmy Butler kind of covered up a lot of the issues, but at the end of the day, it's an old team it's not really deep, doesn't have a ton of young talent, hasn't really made any aggressive moves. But they happen to have one of the, most entertaining generational type basketball players on their team that, much like a few of the guys we've seen in our lifetime, can just win you any game at any point. So in my mind, I think it's over for the Warriors, and I'm excited to just watch Steph Curry. And just every now and then we'll get probably a 40 bomb from Curry, or one where he just comes out scorching hot. But at this point, Dunny, and I know you got that smirk right now. I can tell you're smirking a little bit, because I do think the Warriors this year will be the official end of the dynasty, even though it probably died a couple of years ago. I think this is the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, that's
Did
what
you guys?
feels like, right? Go ahead, Dunny.
No, I was just gonna ask if you guys saw Draymond trying to chirp at Herb Jones last night, and him not realizing that Steve Kerr was subbing him out. And
No.
Herb Jones had to be like, "Hey, man, like I know you're trying to talk a bunch of shit to me right now, but Steve Kerr's pulling you out of this game." And then it just turned into Draymond yelling at Steve Kerr on the sideline. But Jake, what says you? You kind of in agreement with Steve here, or do you think the Warriors have one more trick up their sleeve and they're gonna try to make a splash at the deadline here?
Now those are two different questions to me, honestly, because
Okay,
I
what do you got?
didn't really think this year they had a great shot at winning the West. Like, I think we talked about that before the season. Like, it was Denver, it was Oklahoma City, it was Denver, maybe Houston. You guys I mean, you were more higher on the Spurs being up at the top than I was, and they're around there. They're going to be in the mix. But like even the Lakers, like people were more excited about them. So for me, it felt like that, but I also would have just came across as a hater if I was just like the Warriors are dead, like they're done, whatever. So I was like, you know what? Let's see, like Jimmy for a full year, a full off season with the team coming into the season, like maybe that helps. They looked good with him coming back, all the different things. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of thought that they were done coming into it. It would have been hard. At least the paths to them getting to the finals or even a conference finals were a lot slimmer than their competitors. But now it really feels like it. But the question of will they still make a splash? Like they might still want to do something though. That's the thing. Like they still might be interested in making something happen to give Steph another chance. Just one more time. Like they clearly don't care about mortgaging their future. They feel like they owe it to Steph to do what they can, and that's admirable. A tough word in Buffalo, in Western New York right now for people to understand. Admirable, and I think that there's all these rumblings about Giannis, right? Like about them wanting to save up a lot of their assets for Giannis too. So is this where they just push all the chips in for that kind of move? And they're like, you know what? And Jimmy would probably be the cold-hearted thing is that Jimmy's probably a part of a trade like that. They can trade him injured and get rid of that salary, which is like, honestly, it's one of the biggest trade chips in the league to have that kind of salary to be able to trade. So it would be cold-blooded to do. But hey, man, if it's the difference between your rehabbing Jimmy Butler for a year to come back as how old is he right now? Like 35, 36.
36.
So the upper 30s Jimmy Butler off an ACL, or there's a trade avenue available where you can get a couple years younger superstar to put next to Steph to try to push the chips in. Like, man, you got to do it. So like that's where we're at. Like sports is a cold business sometimes. And that just might be where we're at with his situation. But for the player itself, it's terrible, right? Like this is a guy who is someone who became a star by sheer will and determination, right? Like he wasn't a highly recruited guy. He was like, even starting out with the Bulls, with the Timberwolves, like it took him a while to get to that superstar status, and he just kind of took it and made it happen. So I don't want to doubt him in thinking that he can't make a comeback. But it's a lot of miles on his body was what I was really getting at. Like a lot of hard miles of him proving night in and night out, playing all these games, playing all these minutes as much as anything.
The bubble finals run alone. Those last few years with the Heat, man, he exerted everything he had.
I mean, when you think about the bubble finals, don't you think about the Heat more than you think about like LeBron and the Lakers winning it? Like that, especially the Jimmy of it all and everything. Yeah.
He gave us that meme.
He did. It really does live forever, man. Like that's how the meme describe how I would feel after this week. I think all of us we're the Jimmy Butler meme right now. Man, it's tough to see that, but from the Warriors' perspective, like I think they could be desperate enough to push the chips in, but it might already just be done. Like if they can get Giannis, and Giannis wants to go play with Steph for a couple years, why would you not? Why would you not do it?
What do they have to give for Giannis, though?
But the thing with the Giannis trade is Giannis is going to dictate a lot of it too.
Yeah, but Milwaukee still has to accept it.
They do. But I feel like Giannis could be like, I'm only going to these two places. And maybe Milwaukee is like, no, and they try to go back and forth. I have a gutting feeling.
Picks.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I have a gutting feeling about the Bucks that they're gonna get just reamed on the Giannis trade whenever it happens. Yeah. I don't know why. It's just always been like this gut feeling about that they'll just do whatever he wants and it's not gonna be best for them. But they feel like they owe it to, and they kind of do owe it to him, right? Like that's a whole story for another different day. Yeah, I guess it would be Kuminga. I mean, maybe the Butler contract too. Like maybe that is something. And hey, Jimmy, Milwaukee, you could be Milwaukee's star player. You come back, you'll get all the shots you want. Like, I don't know. It's not enticing. The Giannis thing is an interesting. I don't know who can get him even. That would really make a lot of sense right now. But for the Warriors' perspective, I do see them considering a move, a giant move here to help Curry out.
And the weird thing is, and it's near impossible now because if they were ever going to do it, I don't think it'd be in the middle of the season. But they kind of lost their window to capitalize on trading Steph if they're ever going to do that too. Which I know the fans they're being uproar, but I think there was a point last year or 2 years ago where Steph didn't ask for a trade, but he kind of hinted at like, if that would be the best thing for the franchise and we're just going to suck and I'm going to be here alone, he kind of hinted at that he would welcome it because it would be a win-win. Like if they were going to be bad anyway and he could go to a contender and they could kind of, rebuild their future because obviously people would still pay up for Steph Curry. But he becomes a free agent next year. He's 62 million on the books. I can't see the Warriors trading him mid-season if they were going to do it. So they've kind of lost their chance on that, even though it was a long shot. And yeah, it's just really strange where it could be a final push splash. Like maybe they go for Laurie, maybe they try to do something at the deadline to be competitive this year. But if they don't do that, I think Kerr might be gone. I think Draymond might be gone. I think that's, maybe Steph sticks around and they try to put the pieces around a Steph and just some younger guys to compete for another couple of years. Maybe not at the top of the West, but at least be a play-in, play-off team. But bad vibes right now. And, like, even when Jimmy was healthy, like, there's a clip of him from, like, a week ago just saying in the locker room after a game, well, we're just a mediocre team right now. And
He did, yeah.
He was just saying what everyone else was watching and thinking, but it really, like last year when the Warriors acquired Jimmy, like that was when the shine of Butler to the Warriors was really happening. Like it never really felt special this year, and I couldn't really see Butler and Draymond being two guys that get along behind the scenes. It almost felt like those guys would either hate each other or be like best friends. And I haven't really got the vibe that those guys were best friends. So strange vibes. I think there's a lot more behind closed doors than we know. Draymond's, there's like a weird clip of him either fighting with Kerr or fighting with a teammate or fighting with someone on the other team. And it's not really warranted about like every night now. And obviously he's still a plus player, but he's declining every season. And I don't really know what to do. And then I also have this weird part of me where it's not even like that I'm spiteful. Like I kind of like feel bad for Horford at this point, but Horford elected to leave the Celtics over the summer because he wanted to go to a team that had a chance to compete for a championship this year. Yeah. And now you look at the Warriors, who are the 8th seed, and they're only going to fall without Jimmy Butler. And the Celtics are the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And obviously, he couldn't have guessed that, but even like those small moves for the Warriors, it just doesn't seem to be working out for this squad. And I don't know. I couldn't see them trading Steph, but that would be the best thing for their future, but they just won't do it.
I'd be shocked if Steph goes anywhere. I think he retires a Warrior. I don't see, even at the end of his career, if he wants to like go one, I think he just retires a Warrior. It's not like he hasn't won a championship before, right? It's not like he hasn't like broken records here. Like I just feel like he's just gonna always be a Warrior, and he's just gonna go down with the ship. And sometimes, I can respect players that do that.
Does Bob Myers just get cooler and cooler and feel more and more like the man every day that this Warriors organization kind of falls, not necessarily falls apart, but he might have been the mastermind.
I think their biggest issue at this point, I think what's hurt them from actually contending is keeping Draymond around. And that's like Jordan Poole was right. Like we all like the reason Draymond got so emotional in that moment is because he knew that man was right. And that's what Draymond has been, an expensive piece on their team for the value that he brings nowadays. it's a legacy contract he has, the legacy deal. It's you and Steph are linked forever. We already lost one of these guys. Like, you're an icon. We're keeping you around, and this is just the price of doing business deal. But no other team in the NBA would pay him that right now, especially in the apron world. Like, it's an albatross for them to have to put a contender together with considering that. Like, not saying that, like, Draymond, I still think is a good role player in the NBA in the right situation, but where with what he still thinks he is, and what, like, you can see it. Like, how much less do you think Steve Kerr wants to play Draymond like every night, or does Steve Kerr even want that dude on his team at this point? Like, what else are they putting? Like, why else would you put up with all of this? So it's hard to build a winner when you have a guy like that on your roster, like, accounting for the money that he is, just without all the baggage, just from a purely basketball standpoint. And then you add in all the other nonsense too, like where every day I open up some social media app and it's a clip of Draymond talking about, like, Drake May or something like that. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
What's going on? Like, bro, what's happening here? So
yeah, it's kind of sad news, bad news for the Warriors right now. But like we said, they had their dynasty. All good things must come to an end. We're not necessarily saying that's happening, but it certainly feels that way. Just it's also tough. Like, it's not like they're just bad. Like, everything you just laid out, Jake. Like, it's all the drama that comes with it. And it seems like we've only seen the beginning of that, especially where the Butler injury is so new. We haven't really seen them have, like, a horrific stretch yet, but that's probably coming, especially if Steph misses any more time at any point this season, which, whether it's just for rest or a small injury that keeps him sidelined, if you're a betting man, you'd probably say that will happen at least one more time. Predictions to the Warriors, regardless of what you think happens at the trade deadline, play in, playoff team, are they making it there, or you guys think they're out of the race completely by the end of the season?
Steve, what do you think?
The bottom of the West is bad. I mean,
It's real bad.
The teams that could hypothetically catch them in the play-in that aren't in the play-in right now, the outside looking in, is Grizzlies, Mavericks. That's really it. Jazz aren't getting there. Kings aren't getting there. Pelicans aren't getting there. Grizzlies and Mavs have their own issues. They could fall, like, out of the play-in. Sure, one of those teams would have to jump them, but that's also including the Clippers, who were horrible.
Hey, listen, the Clippers think
they're figuring it out. They're figuring it out.
They said once they got Derrick Jones Jr. back, they'd be fine.
They're figuring it out. They're playing much better basketball right now. The Trailblazers are the Trailblazers. I mean, it's just going to be tough to fall out of the
I did hammer, and I mean hammer for me, like $3. The Bulls -4.5 against the Clippers coming into freezing Chicago last night. Like, there's no way these old men are playing real basketball tonight, bro. There's the games with the Clippers where you're like, you know what, this year it ain't you guys ain't doing this one.
Yep.
I know what you're getting up for. Like, they play the Nets Sunday night. Like, they might just fuck around and lose.
That play, Jake. You're just assuming these guys' knees are bugging them in the cold.
Yeah, exactly. So
I don't think they fall out of the play.
No, I don't think so.
I'm with you. I think they probably lose their first game in the play-in, but man, the bottom of the West is tough. Dude.
The fact the Wolves are the 7th seed right now. Like, you could tell me the Wolves make the conference finals again. I wouldn't be surprised. And they're the 7th seed. I watched the Wolves. This is a Wolves sidebar, because I'm actually, like, all the way sold on the Wolves after watching them in back-to-back games closely when they played my Cavaliers, because that team, besides whatever happens to Rudy Gobert in the playoffs, he's terrifying any other time. Like, I know people make all his jokes, but, like, the Cavs did not really want to go to the paint, but they're just, like, the ant of it all, and, like, the effort they give every night, and just, like, the way that their team plays. And, like, by the second game, and it's a Saturday afternoon in Cleveland, everybody's a little ornery at that point. But, like, the Cavs were, like, pissed, like, dealing with the Wolves. Like, they were freaking out. They're screaming at the refs. They're arguing. It's getting physical. Like, it was happening all game. And it's like, this is how this team does this in the playoffs, because they are a bitch to play every single night. Like they just are always coming after you like rabid hyenas. Wolves is, I guess, the easy thing to say there. But like, and I'm saying this as I'm now looking and realizing they've lost their last 3 games, but like, it doesn't matter. Like if they're in the right matchups in this kind of Western Conference, I think they could just be back in conference finals. They probably lose there again too, but like that it's a scary team, man. Like and it's only going to get better and better as Ant keeps growing and growing into this, which is every year it gets more terrifying for me. I'm like, damn, he's still only this young right now. Like it's not even close to the height of his powers yet. So
I feel like
in general.
I feel like they play their best games against the best teams. I feel like the Wolves are a classic play up to their opponent type of team as well, which is terrifying in the playoffs, right? Because that means they don't care who they're up against. They can beat anybody. And if you look right now, right, if the season ended today, 7 seed for the Wolves, let's say they win the play and they're the 7, they play the Spurs? You think the Spurs want to play the Wolves first round?
Well, and that's what I was going to say. One of those 3 losses that the losing streak they're on came against the Spurs, and Ant had 50. So like he's not afraid of the challenge. He's not afraid of Wemby. He said he's going to try to dunk on him at some point in his career. And it's funny because you mentioned like the other team just getting pissed when you play the Wolves. It almost like Ant in some of those games is literally just like his character from the movie Hustle with Adam Sandler. If you guys have ever seen it, like it's not only do you have to deal with the hard-nosed defense of the Wolves, you got to deal with a guy like Naz Reid. You got to deal with a guy like Anthony Edwards who can put 50 on you on any given night. He's also going to be talking shit the whole game, and you got to deal with that, and that can definitely get teams frustrated and flustered, especially if you can't check the guy or guard the guy, and he's scoring all over you. So yeah, Western Conference is just pretty bizarre in general. So we'll see. I'm with you guys. The Warriors probably hang around in that play-in area. I'm interested to see though. I think they make some sort of move at the deadline, and I just don't know what it is though.
I just want to acknowledge AJ. I would take Steve Kerr as the Bills head coach. I think he could figure it out. Just a leader of men.
Moving on, so
this got to be his last. Isn't this his last year? Pretty sure it's the last year on his deal, and he's basically
people are speculating he's not coming back.
Would you go to back to TV? Would he coach again or go back to TV?
I think he'd go back to TV. What else does he have to prove?
Can he replace Reggie Miller on NBC? That'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah. Sounds Tarico and Kerr. Come on, man. That'd be great. Do you realize how like watching the basketball broadcasts this year? Quick straw poll here. NBC, Peacock, Prime, ESPN. ESPN is by far the worst now. It's kind of crazy how minor league it compares to like NBC's production. Like for the whole way down. And then Prime is like Prime I think is second, but Prime looks better than ESPN, that's for sure, bro. Feels better than ESPN.
I'm kind of pleasantly surprised by Prime.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of Udonis Haslem though. A lot of Haslem.
Yeah.
No, never like that, but
it's not
that's
a bad
more of a
crew,
Boston,
though.
Miami.
It's a random crew for Prime, but it's not a bad one.
No, I like it. They're it's just good to have different sometimes too. And I think our biggest beef was always more so the way that we have to watch it more than the personalities on these
shows.
Of
course.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. The NBC show, I love the NBC studio show too. I think both those studio shows are very fun, but both like the NBC one, Tracy, Vince, Carmelo, Maria Taylor has been a joy to watch. AJ's got a comment about the Warriors in general. I know Curry and the franchise won a lot, but they didn't do much to improve roster last 3 years in an open conference before OKC started their God build. I think they didn't push that's true. They didn't really, they counted on, we talked about it a lot on this show, honestly, the thread the needle of it all, where they're like, hey, we still got these guys, but we're also going to bring the young guys. We got Moody, we got Kuminga, like, we'll be able to we'll have 2 eras of Warriors basketball. It goes
back to what you said about Draymond too. He kind of handcuffed him a little bit there too, and not wanting to make the moves. And there was the Mavericks rumors for a little bit. There was that one summer where it seemed like every team wanted Draymond, and they kind of stayed put, and this is where it
Well, and
gets them.
whether Poole deserved that money or not, we'll never
Yeah.
really know because that changed everything about Jordan Poole and the Warriors from that
But
moment too, right? Like he was great
Getting
for
Chris
them.
Paul, yeah,
yeah, also maybe one of the worst draft picks of the past 10 years with James Wiseman. Well, like we
yes,
kind of glance over that, but that was one of the worst draft picks they could have had, and it was in a draft class where there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of positions they could have got there, and they took Wiseman.
yep,
And
Yeah, the
well,
Wiseman.
nah,
Yeah, that's a great
yeah,
point. I mean, even yeah,
not very
honestly,
wise.
anybody not very wise. That's one of those things where it wouldn't happen, and I don't think it would happen in 2026 even in the NBA. But like you just pick the best player and figure everything else out. Like the
right.
Warriors were over. They were like, well, we have Steph and we have these guys. Like, why not get a center? It's like there are so many questions about Wiseman even at that point
And
where
he
it
was
was like,
hurt
is
in
this worth the risk?
college
He's
too.
hurt. Yeah, he doesn't play. Like, yeah. So they've hurt
Yeah.
themselves by they could have went all in. Probably there's probably other times where they had opportunities to swing a big deal and passed on it, and that's why they're sitting here where they're at. No guarantee that that would have worked either, but
No, but
that's where we're at.
it's what happens when you draft poorly for a few years in a row. And you just don't have guys that buy into the culture. This is what's going to happen. And it's the classic, like I said, Steph Curry kind of, covered that up by how good he was. And then you got, Jimmy Butler last year into this year kind of covered up some of the issues that we saw before the Jimmy Butler deal. And then I remember, Dunny, we were down on this Warriors team. Then Jimmy Butler
Mm.
gets and the Warriors gets acquired by the Warriors, and we're like, oh my God, they're 17-7 in their last 24. Their defense has gone up dramatically. Like it was like maybe this can work. Well, you don't have the band-aid anymore. Also, shout out JBC, Trae Jones, best player in the league. Is the most egregious take I've ever seen. I've seen some pretty bad ones, JBC. But I'm not gonna let that one just slip by, JBC. I won't. I won't not acknowledge that. Just
Six foot
awful
one
take.
phenom,
Trey
Trae
Jones.
Jones. Hey, we can. That is a nice segue, JBC. We can talk about another Trae who's right around 6'1" as well, and he is now a Washington Wizard, guys. We haven't recorded in a couple weeks. We didn't talk about the Trae Young trade. We talked about it amongst ourselves. There's also not much of a trade to break down. Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum for Trae Young straight up. No draft picks. No
Trace, right?
nothing.
No draft picks.
First jersey
Yeah.
to leave the team they're on. That's tough, man. That's a legacy jersey now though, because Atlanta Hawks Trae Young was like an icon. We gotta talk about that before we talk about the trade. Like that guy was like a legit cultural icon for a couple of
Nice
years there.
Trey. Nice
Yeah,
Yeah.
Trey,
he's
man.
got a song. He's got Migos. He's shutting down the Garden. Like,
He was in the he was in Knicks fans' heads for 2 years. And I know people talked about his defense or lack of defense, and maybe the Hawks could be a better fit without him. But at the end of the day, right, you're still trading in a way a multi all-star that can give you 30 a night and can also give you 15 assists on any given night. And that's a big hole to fill. It really is. It's a big hole to fill, and I think sometimes we don't realize how much you miss someone until they're actually gone, right? Where the Hawks played well without Trae Young. They did. They played well without Trae Young, but now that he's traded, like you don't have him coming back. This is a new team. This is a new build around it. And the last thing I'll say too, because I'm not ranting about this, but Trae Young and Luka Doncic traded. There were no firsts. Mikal Bridges and Desmond Bain, 10 firsts.
If you want to add Rudy Gobert,
No,
14.
I don't want to add Rudy Gobert. I don't. I don't need to. I
why
don't need to do
not?
that. I mean,
What do you
what
mean?
are we doing? Like, I get it. I get it. Like a little bit. The Hawks a little bit more than the Mavericks. I'm not getting into that. But you can't get a first for Trae Young. You
Yeah,
can't
that's
squeeze out
surprising to me.
any pick. Like Kisper, McCollum, sure, whatever. Like, I'm actually surprised McCollum's still there. Um,
I, I think the Hawks playing as well as they did for that 2-3 week stretch where Jalen Johnson was playing out of his mind, which he's still playing well.
Yeah, he's still good.
I think that might have hurt Trae's value because they were like, "Yo, look
Really?
how good we are without him," and then they immediately, when that starts happening, that's when they try to make the trade, and they're like, "Well, your team is doing arguably better now without Trae Young," and I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into it, but the timing was weird. Just like jumping on that trade, like I don't know, the behind the scenes stuff must have been worse than people were
Right.
leading on, but now, I'm before the pod today, I'm typing Trae Young's name in on Twitter, and it's trying to do some research, and it's a lot of angry Hawks fans being like, maybe we made a mistake here because
Really?
our team hasn't been all that great, and we didn't get shit in return. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a mini rebuild on the way. Like, I don't know, it's weird, and then the other part of it is we don't know when Trae Young's gonna play his first game as a Wizard, or if it will even be this season. I think he'll play this year, but
You do? You think he'll
I
play
do,
this
yeah.
year? Is there
I
a point for him to play other than just like get some
You get some
reps?
reps with Sar, yeah, I guess.
Right, I guess, right? Because he
And
wants to be a Wizard, right? He wants to be on the Wizards, like, which is banana land if you ask me. But
Listen,
there's
and Bub,
Trey, as much as I like everything we can say about how great a player Trey is, he also thinks he's a great player. And so I think the thought of having my own team in Washington
okay,
definitely appealed to him.
that's fair.
And Sar is a great person to have with him, paired with him, honestly. Like this is going to help his career immensely. So I see the allure for him, especially with clearly there wasn't a huge huge market of like contenders running to the door for him or anything, right? Like so you got to pick what you can. I think that's a good situation. It's better than whatever was going on in Atlanta, that's for sure. Trading him on the
Yep.
bench, man, well, like that's wild. No one could have given him a heads up before the tweet
Right?
got sent out.
I know.
Like get off the bench, bro. Like that's kind of crazy to me, but
yeah, that's what I think. I think things were a little more sour than the Hawks were leading on. It is weird. I would be surprised if he didn't play this year, but it is strange that he's also a free agent, or he has a player option next year, and then he's a free agent in 27, 28. I'm with you, Jake. I would kind of think that he would want his own team at this point and kind of maybe like reprove to the league how good he can be. And even if it is a volume thing and the Wizards aren't really competing next year, but it's kind of conflicting because like you got guys like Bob Carrington coming out and being like, oh, Trey's the guy we're missing. We're super happy to have him in the building and all this stuff. And of course, that could just be media, athletes who are kind of media trained and know the right things to say. But I'm sure the young guys on the Wizards do feel that to a certain degree. It's just it doesn't really matter all that much for this year. And like you mentioned, Steve, is there really a point? And it's you're getting at, well, they are the 14th seed in the East. They're 10-32, and they want to lose as many games as possible because this draft class is amazing.
Right. Oh, we'll have an episode where we really dive into this draft class because it is looking to be a historic one.
Yeah,
It
so
really
like,
is.
why win games and then
Right.
you could come back and get Trae in a top 5 pick next year? I get that side of it too. I just think like reps wise and getting acclimated with the city, I think at some point we see him. Doesn't mean it has to be soon, but I would just be surprised if they really just did that and kind of sat him down for the whole thing. But who knows? We're already getting imaginary injuries and all that stuff to put on the report. So
True.
you guys both think he's a Wizard next year, though?
I do. I kind of do. Yeah, I think he'll be there next year.
I think
I don't
so.
know how much longer after that, but I do. I mean, the return was wild, but it felt like everything leading up to it when it was announced the trade that Trae Young wanted to go to the Wizards. Like that was one of his top destinations. So it wouldn't be mine. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
If I was in Trae Young's shoes, wouldn't be on the top of my list. But hey, you know what? These guys are human. They all have their own, choices, their likes, their dislikes. Maybe you're right. Maybe he just wants to go to a team that's his own. Not a lot of pressure right now. Like, sure.
It
So
is
be it.
nice to
Also,
hear a rumor about a player that doesn't want to go to Miami though, because every other
Yeah,
time we
true.
hear where someone wants to go, it's oh yeah, he wants to play in Miami. Oh no kidding, really? He
Mm.
wants to play in Florida with no state income tax and it's nice all the time.
Shocking. Shocking he wants to go to Miami.
But any final thoughts on the Trae Washington situation?
No, man. I
No.
think I think I'm glad. I think I'm happy for him, honestly, just from the fact that it seemed like it was getting toxic there, and this might be a fresh start. Might be the best thing for him, and then anything. And I don't. I mean, the Hawks. Who knows, man? We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's a that is not a great return for a very talented player, regardless of whatever deficiencies he has on the court. So, see if you can make it up.
Yeah, and I'm happy to see it, regardless of how bad the Wizards might be. It's still gonna people still gonna tune in to see that his first game as a Wizard and how that looks and all that fun stuff with Sar, like you mentioned. All right, temperature check on the entire league because I don't know. I was just thinking this the other day. It kind of reminds me of the NFL season that we're having this year. The NBA just seems weird this year. I don't know if it's the different broadcasts like we touched on a little bit and then new personalities on different networks and watching games on Prime and Peacock, but just we can kind of talk about whoever we want to in the league, but I put this in our doc because just to show the drastic changes from less than a year ago. Like the Spurs ended last year as the 13 seed. We know that came with the Wemby injuries and stuff, but they're currently the 2 seed. Raptors were the 11 seed, currently the 4 seed. Sixers were the 13 seed, currently the 5 seed, and the Suns were the 11 seed last year to end the season, and they're currently the 6 seed. And sure, the 6 seed, not all that impressive, and there's some teams right behind them in the Western Conference. Wolves, we talked about, but the Suns also had zero expectations and were kind of a laughing stock the last few years. So the league's kind of flipped itself on its head. We talked a little bit about the Boston Celtics before the pod too, and talk about a team with, maybe no expectations isn't fair because I still thought, JB would be able to play competitively. I didn't think JB would do this, and I don't think anyone thought the Celtics would be the 2 seed. So just tons of parity, a lot of changes from less than a year ago. And are you guys feeling the same way with me that this something just feels off this year about the NBA?
A little bit. I mean, we're halfway through the season. I
Yeah,
think we were talking about this, a month ago, and we were like, well, it'll change a little bit. These teams will kind of go back and forth. And I remember the last time we kind of looked at the league as a whole, Dunny. I think the Thunder had 1 or 2 losses, and we were like, oh, is this team gonna break the record? Like, how good is this team gonna be? Next thing you know, they lose to the Spurs 3 times in 2 weeks. And now
yeah,
it's like, wait, are the Thunder actually going to win the West, or is it going to be the Spurs that'll beat them in a playoff series? The East, I'm not too surprised by the East because we did talk about how wide open it was this year with the injuries to Halliburton
yeah,
and Tatum. I was shocked, and I'm the biggest Tyrese Halliburton fan. I love Halliburton. I think he's one of the most important players in the league. I was shocked how badly the Pacers dropped off. I looked at that team last year. I saw Siakam, Nemhard, Naismith, and I was like, this is a team that I think could be scrappy and still, be formidable. And obviously they lost Miles Turner to the Bucks, but I was shocked how bad the Pacers were. Speaking of Milwaukee, obviously had the Giannis injury too, but shocked how bad the Bucks have been
Hmm.
this year. And I think there's a lot of teams more so that I'm surprised how bad they are, and other teams are just kind of hovering and they're kind of there. The big one in the East for me is the Raptors. Other than that, obviously the Cavs being only 4 games above 500 is shocking, but I'll let Jake dive more into that. The order is different than I expected, but the teams in the East and where like most like the top 10 teams seem pretty accurate really outside of Toronto. If you just took Toronto out of there and you told me it was Detroit, Boston, New York, Philly, Orlando, Cleveland, Miami, Chicago, Atlanta, outside of Cleveland, I'd be like, all right, I could see it. I could see it.
yeah.
Granted, I was higher on the Celtics this offseason than a lot of people were. Um, and the West, kind of similar with the Suns. You take the Suns out of there, and it's the order's crazy, but it's kind of the 10 teams we were talking a little bit about. I think the big surprise is Phoenix and the fact that, Dylan Brooks and Gillespie are playing the way they are. But outside of that, like, we're halfway through the season, right? It's not like, oh, this is kind of a fluke. This team's not going to do it. And obviously, you see some teams jump up second half. We still got the deadline to go and all that. And post All-Star break teams can look night and day different than they did before. But outside of just a couple teams, like Toronto and Phoenix, I look at the 10 teams that are in the playoff picture, and I don't disagree with it. Portland might be a little surprising, but once again, I've always been high on Portland because I think Denny Avdia has been one of the best players, like quietly, in the past couple seasons. But really, other than that, I think it's the order, Dunny. I don't think it necessarily it's, what's going on in the NBA season is just weird or feels different. I think it's the order of these teams where a lot of them are a lot closer together, and we expected that in the East, but we thought the Cavs would be the one that would be separated, not the Detroit
Yeah.
Pistons.
Yeah.
In the West, right, we expected the Thunder near the top. We expected the Nuggets near the top. Lakers somewhere in the middle. T-Wolves somewhere in the middle. And their records are good enough to pretty much be a top 2 or 3 seed in the
Yeah.
East. But
Yeah.
because the West is so good, you got
That's a
Minnesota as a
story as old
7
as time.
seed. And Minnesota could very well be a 3 seed in a week, right? That's just how close these teams are. So I think it's the order in both conferences right now because we feel like, all right, the right teams are there, but it just looks off right now. And I think that's where you get the feeling that the NBA season feels a little bit weird.
Yeah, and for some of the teams, it's like how they're doing it, right? Because it's like the
Right.
Sixers are the 5 seed, but they, have barely even had to use Embiid, and it's more been the Maxey and Edgecombe show, especially the way they started the season.
Yeah.
The Suns, like you mentioned, like Brooks and Gillespie, it's like, okay, these guys are
Sure.
just carrying a squad and going to be
Yeah.
a legit playoff team in the Western Conference. And then, obviously with the Butler injury now, but the Warriors, like it is, regardless of how apparent the bad things that are happening in that organization, it's still weird to see a lowly Steph Curry led team. And then the Spurs, like Wemby takes this huge jump, but even when Wemby was out, like you're starting to see the other guys on the team, and it's like, holy shit, like, this is a legit roster from the Spurs. Raptors, everyone was like, okay, you kind of just paid a lot of mediocre guys, but now it's really kind of showing for them.
Right.
And then Duran and the Cade on the Pistons have just taken 2 leaps both themselves. Like they're just kind of above and beyond right now. And then similar to the Warriors, but Giannis and the Bucks, it's like, yeah, sure, he was injured, but you went out, you got Turner, you got this nasty front court that was supposed to be Turner, Portis, and Giannis. You got Bucks fans booing Giannis, him booing him back in the middle of the game. It's just
It's crazy.
yeah, it's just strange things happening. But I guess you're right. The usual suspects is just kind of a little out of order for us this
Right.
year.
Yeah, I think that that's a great assessment of it all, Steve. I think that honestly, what a lot of it is too is it's some changing of the guard moments, right? Like a lot in the Western Conference where you got the Lakers and the Warriors down towards the bottom, the Clippers, like all these usual names that we've seen towards the top of a conference, really struggling. I mean, the Lakers, whatever, they're in the 5th spot, but no one's taking them seriously. Even Durant on the Rockets has been like more of a quieter story, I think, than people think about. I think it's a lot of new attention to like, okay, we knew the Thunder were great last year, but this is the year where everybody's eyes are on them all the time. There's the Wemby and the Spurs surprise of it all. Dunny, you were mentioning, the Pistons and the Cade and Duran renaissance here so far. And then see, you're talking about the Raptors too. Like there's so much new youth, and it's not even all just young guys, but it's guys who have been around who are now kind of taking over their mantle as they get into their prime. That's what I think about with the Raptors as much as anything. Like it's Ingram's a guy we've always had, probably all had a lot of high hopes for.
Right.
And just finally in the right situation with a good team around him, and it looks like a guy who, like, the player that we've always kind of thought he could be, and it's a really good player, and you can win a lot of games with him on your team like that. And they're a good roster built around him too. But that's just an example of a guy, like, thinking of his stature, but a guy that's been around for a while, and his stature is increasing a little bit more as this goes on, as the East kind of changes around them. But really, all this, we've seen this happen. Like, even last year, like, the Cavs were a surprise team too, right? Like, no one thought the Cavs were going to win however many games in a row and win 60 games last year. So I feel like there always is, every couple of years, that we have some of these surprise teams jump to the top of the standings. And the playoffs is really where we learn whether they're, up to snuff or not, and then they kind of settle back in. We were just talking about one of those teams, like the Hawks making the conference finals a couple of years ago. No one had that, expecting that, and it makes a bigger run, and then we think differently about the Hawks going forward, and vice versa, how that thing happens. So I think there's just so much newness and so much unknown when we get to the playoffs too, with all these matchups and all these teams, that we really are kind of working from a blank slate of, like, I don't really know. Like, can you count on, like, we know the Thunder won last year. Can we count on the Thunder to do it? Like, are they tough enough to go back? Like, going back to back's hard. Like, can they really pull that off? There's just so much unknowns even about a team like that it's just, we're just getting out of an era where we knew exactly what we were getting from most of the stars every night. I think we're still learning more about these teams and these stars, and kind of how they react to the grind of the season, and then the playoff run that'll be following when it comes to April.
I think probably a little over a month ago now, or a month and a half ago, we asked each other, Thunder versus the Field, who are you taking? And we all were like, I think you got to take the Thunder.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we've revisited that question now, I think we might all have a different answer. Because the Spurs made them look beatable, and then all these other teams started to emerge. And I think we realized, with these Western Conference teams and the talent of the top half of the Western Conference, you just got to get hot at the right time.
Yep.
Right? Is it crazy to be like, if the T-Wolves got hot and they played the Thunder, they could beat them in a 7-game series? I don't think so. Is it crazy to say the Nuggets could? I don't think so. Is it crazy to say the Rockets could? I don't think so. But is it also crazy to say the Thunder could just go 4-0, 4-0, 4-1 and go to another NBA Finals? Absolutely not. They got the talent for it. But these teams of the West right now, I think it's just, you just got to play your basketball at the right time. 2 years ago, when the Mavs had their run and ended up playing the Celtics, and everyone kind of knew the Celtics was coming out of the East. They're clearly the best team in the NBA. The Mavs just played their best basketball at the right time. They just played their best basketball in April and May. And I think that's what we might see this year. I think this is the year right now, outside of the Thunder, every team has at least a couple question marks, right? Whether it's experience, depth, right, injury concern. They all got a couple question marks, really, outside of the Thunder. The Thunder have kind of constructed one of the most perfect basketball teams. And they still have a question mark too, but nothing like any of these other teams in the league. But outside of them, if they can answer the question marks, if the Spurs could just be like, you know what, who cares about experience? We got Wemby, we got the athleticism. If the Pistons are like, hey, we're just going to keep playing how we've been playing all year long, and even though, we don't have that type of playoff experience, we got a couple veterans on this team that'll help us get through. Or if the I can't believe I'm saying this with Dunny on the pod, if the Celtics are like, hey, Tatum's going to actually play this year. He's going to play in the playoffs. He's going to come back. And next thing you know, we got the team that is as good or better than the team that won the finals 2 years ago. Like, there's situations like that. And but you got the opposite situations too, where teams could just fall apart. The Nuggets, I think they're 7-4 or 7-5 without Jokic. Where, like, they just got to tread water. Jamal Murray's turned into one of the best guards on the planet.
I wanted to give you guys both credit for the Nuggets, because the last time we recorded, which we've alluded to a couple of times, was a little while ago, and it was right after Jokic got hurt, and I was like, do they stay afloat? I think Valanciunas got hurt around the same time, and they've just kind of figured it out. Gordon came back. Murray's been outstanding, and you guys were like, they don't really need to do much. They kind of need to just hang around until Jokic comes back. and here they are, a game back from the Spurs for the 2 seed. Like,
And Jamal
it's
Murray,
crazy.
'High,
35 points one night, 15 assists the next night. Like
yep.
he's
Yeah.
doing both what we thought, where he's just going to chuck it or he's just going to be a playmaker, and it's working wonderfully. So that's the thing. There's just so many teams like that where
They lead the league in points per game, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, true shooting percentage, effective field goal percentage, and offensive rating.
that's crazy.
Oh, dude, I know I told you guys that I was bummed that I was going to the Celtics Nuggets and Jokic was going to be hurt. Nuggets ended up winning that game.
Yep.
They just
I know.
the Celtics were playing good. It seemed like they had it in control. All of a sudden, Rashawn Holmes was banging threes. Jamal Murray caught fire. I'm like, what the hell is happening right now?
All of this really makes me excited for the playoffs because I think all these teams can be got. I think any of these teams this year, the Thunder, the Pistons, honestly, and I don't want to just say that Dunny's got too much going for him this week, but I do really believe this. If Jason Tatum comes back and he's healthy, like that team is more of a favorite than the Thunder are in the West.
Wow.
Like yes, bro. Like the way this East has gone. The way this East looks this year right now, like, I mean, unless you really trust Detroit, like the Knicks, the Cavs have not shown you enough to think that they can bounce back and be that level. The Raptors, the Sixers, the Magic, like if Tatum's Jason Tatum and he's back, like we would have picked them probably to go to the finals this year if he was healthy. Like I probably would have. So, I mean, it's I think the West might end up more interesting in the long run, depending on that's like the biggest. And I know you guys you've been thinking that since it happened, Dunny. I'm sure like that's the biggest domino to fall during this season, but it truly is. Like if there's a Shams tweet on March 7th, that's like Jason Tatum's coming back tomorrow night, whatever. Like everything changes for the NBA in general because if he's willing to come back, you have to think he's healthy.
If that tweet happens, my head's not going to fit through the door on March 8th. I'll tell you that. But no, it is. You're so right, man. It's. I mean, I'm like every night I watch the Celtics. Like I'm still.
Oh, you know who they play on March 8th? You can't make this up because I didn't know this. At the Cavaliers, I just jinxed myself so bad. So bad. The worst way possible. I promise you, I was like, I wonder what they play. Who they play, if they play the 7th or not. Yeah. Yep. That's gonna happen now for sure.
Wow. All right, now I'm rooting for that, Jake. I'm sorry.
ABC, come on, bro.
What's the latest news on him, Dunny? I know you're tied into all the insiders with the Celtics.
Yeah, it's weird. Like all those new like the like weird betting sites are like saying that his percentage chance of coming back this season for whatever reason the last couple weeks they're saying it's gone down, but then all like the Celtics beat writers and reporters like I'm trying to think of their last road game, who we played on the road. Oh, it was the game in Detroit, I believe. Mm-hmm. Like that morning at shoot around, like he was going through legit full drills, dunking, like driving to the lane, dunking over like the guys with the body pads and stuff. So, I mean, as far as like what I'm seeing from clips and stuff, and then Chris Mannix, who's, you know, a big a Celtics guy and has been covering the team for years, the way he put it in those clips is like that was all calculated by Tatum. Like Tatum wanted to see those like people. He wanted people to see him doing that kind of stuff,
right?
And like it was calculated that all those moves got put on camera. So I think he's still itching to play. And I think it legitimately just comes down to if they hold this 2 seed or even, you know, in the top 4 in the East and he gets cleared, I don't see a world where they don't bring him back because at that point it just seems like you're like wasting not only Tatum's time in his prime, but this team who's playing over expectations. They kind of have the means to make a trade if they want at the deadline also. Anthony Simons has been playing out of his mind lately.
Yes.
He had a 39-point game the other night, and it was electric. So, yeah, I kind of have the same mindset. It's like no one's really going to know, like Brad Stevens or who the medical staff. Like someone has their finger hovering over that Tatum button. I don't really know who has the last call. I would assume it's Tatum. But if that's the case, he's going to play because
Right.
all things point to that. He was saying it on ESPN in like October that he never said he wasn't playing this season, and now all things are just pointing to him playing. So, I mean, if Tatum comes back and they trade for another rotation big, all bets are off. The Celtics are coming. My dream scenario right now is Tatum comes back and the Celtics bring Robert Williams home, and it's because like that's to me like that's not a crazy splash. It wouldn't be as expensive as Zubac. You still have Keita, Rob Williams, Garza, who's I don't know if you guys seen Luka Garza lately, but this guy's shooting over 50% from three on the year, and I didn't even know he had a 3-point shot.
Joe Mazzulla has some kind of secret stuff that he just hands every player that walks through the door and is like, you're going to turn into a 50% shooter from three. Like, that's just what happens. Like, that's the thing is why I believe so much in your team is I think Joe Mazzulla is just like a top 5 and will be just the best coach in the NBA by at some point in the next 5 years. Like, he's just clearly presses all the right buttons. That's the thing too. Like, it's like the sky is literally the limit for him. But wouldn't it make sense? You're talking about you needing a big. Like, wouldn't it make sense for Tatum to just play small ball big for you guys and just it puts less stress on him moving around in the perimeter and everything else. It doesn't disrupt everything Jalen's been doing offensively on the perimeter. Like, he can basically run everything he's been doing. You just start putting Tatum in his actions rather than anything else. I don't think Tatum would care. I think Tatum's the ultimate team guy. Would be like, sure, like I'll just play center, and then you don't have to go get anybody. Like, you're just like, well, now Jason Tatum is just my starting center, and we're just going to figure this out. And if there's a team that can figure it out, it's the Celtics. If you have a 4 out and Tatum's your guy in there, you can go 5 out with that. Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah. If Tatum comes back, like I don't necessarily think they need to do that. That's just kind of been the rumblings, and I'm with you. Like, if you can keep a guy like Simons and just have that heat check 6-man guy also when Tatum's already back, like that's not a bad situation to have either, because he's probably in the trade piece, or I don't think it would be Pritchard at this point because he's just too valuable to this team and means too much to the city. And Brad Stevens, I don't think would do that. But yeah, it's crazy, man. I don't know. I'm like shocked every night that I watch this team. Did you guys last thing on the C's here? Sam Hauser had a never done before in the NBA stat line the other night. 10 of 21 right? From 3-point range, no 2-pointers taken.
And he started like 8 and 9, right? That was the game they were up like 120 in the third quarter. He
ended the first half 8 of 10 from 3, and then shot 10 of 21.
Absurd, I remember I was looking at box scores real quick that night. I forget what game was on, but I was just like, just checking on how the NBA is, because I think it was the night football was on, right?
Yeah, it was It was the night. Yeah, it was Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday. And so I looked at the box score. I'm like, oh, I know Dunny's watching this. I sent you guys the message. Like, the Celtics have like 115 with like 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. It was insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think
when they hit the threes,
tied or leading the league in 40-point games this year too.
He's been unbelievable. Top 5 in MVP odds right now, right, Jake?
Yes, MVP odds? That is. I do believe so. Yes.
Interesting. So probably not 300 to 1 or his odds. You probably can't get him at that, right?
Probably not. Plus
350 to 1, I think it was. Yeah, probably can't. No. Probably a little shorter.
Yeah,
a little bit shorter. So hypothetically, if someone were to put in, a large future on Jaylen Brown preseason odds at 300 to 350 to 1, when I said that was probably the best odds you could find on the board if you're just looking for something that's going to get shorter as the year goes on, hypothetically, their cash out would be a little bit better than it was.
It might be better. It might be better.
Hypothetically, of course. Hypothetical situation. Hypothetically, there was a path for the Celtics to be one of the top teams in the East, and that being on the back of Jaylen Brown scoring about 30 a game, and the 300 to 1 MVP odds were a little crazy with that hypothetical possibly coming to fruition. Hypothetically, though, speaking, of course.
He is He is number 4 right now. It's
Okay.
Shea at minus
20.
380.
Which is
Minus
crazy.
380 is
Which is no, that's crazy.
disgusting
That's
work,
crazy.
bro.
I'm sorry.
Disgusting.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. It's crazy.
That's where I would rather give it to Jalen. I would say that. I'd rather be dead wrong and give it to Jalen Brown than give it to SGA right now.
Yeah,
Like,
see,
are we just going to default to this now?
Is it just who's on the best team? Is that what the MVP award is turned
Exactly.
into in the NBA?
and
What are we doing?
no player in any season in recorded history at this point of the season should be that heavy of a favorite to win this
No.
award.
Especially if
There's still
Jokic
so much
can come back.
basketball.
Especially
Yeah.
if he can come back. Have enough games.
There's still so much basketball, and then if the listeners are curious, Luca's 2 at plus 600.
Yeah.
Then Cade
That's
Cunningham,
okay.
which I'm glad Cade's getting his love. He's plus 1400, and then Jalen is plus 2500.
Do they have Jokic's odds on there, or did they
No.
take it off right now?
Not on
for the time
DK,
being?
no.
Yeah, they're not going to give you that good of
And it
odds.
goes
with Jokic.
Ant
They're just
plus-
going to wait it out.
I would say Ant 50-1, depending on where if
Feels
they
good,
make like a
too.
run.
Yeah.
If they like end up right now they're the 7 seed, but they're only 3 games back of the Spurs at the 2. Like if they somehow got to the 2 or 3, they'd have to go they'd have to be really hot down the stretch. But that could be the only thing I think for Ant could push it, and they people would love to give it to Ant too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like if he has an opportunity at it.
Am I missing something that is Wemby already out of contention for the time that he missed, or
I don't know how much time he's missed. If it's
I think
close.
he might
Also,
be.
that rule is so stupid. I hate that rule so
because
much.
his odds aren't up there, and like I'm just thinking I also have the future on him, but they're the 2 seed in the Western Conference, and
right.
like it's not like his stats are bad, but
Yeah.
freaking Shea.
Hey,
minus
and you know what?
380, that's crazy.
Don't count on my boy Luca. I know he's 6-1 right now. He's second in odds, but he's averaging 33.5 points a game, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. Like he's getting to the point of those numbers where if the Lakers move up in the West, top 3, you can't shy away from that. And I think it's classic.
He is
like
so
they would give it to
quietly
him too.
still doing the Luka Magic stuff.
I
Like,
know,
I don't know why it's so quiet.
It's
this
just
year,
not the
but
same
he's-
because it's not in Dallas. It's in LA.
Yeah.
What gives a shit? It's in Los Angeles. You're doing it on the Lakers. Like they don't care. They're like, oh yeah, Lakers. Good game.
Should we end with a little Lakers talk? Did you guys see the Genie Bus stuff today?
I didn't actually see this. So
I
what?
didn't see it either.
Yeah, what was going on there?
I honestly started to see it when we were talking before we started recording. That's why I added to the doc so late. But I think she did a sit down with someone with from the Athletic, and there's all this stuff about how she claims that their relationship soured 8 years ago. She had private meetings about wanting to trade LeBron James in 2022. Even considered trading him to the Los Angeles Clippers, which obviously not only at that time, but just the magnitude of that LA to LA and trading him to the Clippers would be a big deal. And then the quiet part out loud is, she didn't like LeBron's ego and doesn't like the involvement of Clutch Sports, which I think the current ownership of the Lakers feels the same way. Because you have, Rich Paul and Max Kellerman on their pod, and Austin Reeves' agent apparently had some things to say when Rich Paul was talking about the Austin Reeves trade or potential Austin Reeves trade, I should say. So I guess this stuff that isn't all that surprising. It's just a little strange that it comes out now when this is, I would say, an atypical LeBron season, right? Because it's kind of the first year, even though Luka was on the Lakers last year, it's the first year that it was known to everyone that this is kind of Luka's team now. Mm-hmm. LeBron kind of taking a back seat. Obviously didn't start the season healthy. And now we're at this point where, the Lakers are good. Like they're a middling team. We still have the highlights. We just talked about it. We still have the Luka Magic, but I mean, is this kind of like a nothing burger to you guys? Is this the Buss family and the Lakers being in the news, and then also LeBron being in the news? Is this just more of the same?
It feels more of the same to me, to be honest. I'm so
Steve's
tired.
so
of
fed
it.
up on it.
I'm so done with it.
I'm kind of
really
tired of it. How about that? Like, I just want this dude to just go, bro. Just go.
Dude, he's playing well again though too.
I
23,
know,
6, and
but
7, 51% from the field. Like, he's still playing well. He's 41, and he's putting up those numbers.
Dunking
Like,
on
he's
people
still,
still.
yeah,
this
he's still
drama
playing
is
great.
this
I,
drama though is
I
all
agree.
just like
I
it's all
agree.
him. He can't he's having trouble grasping
Can't
where
help
he's at.
himself.
Yeah, he can't help
Yeah.
himself.
Uh-huh.
It and I think the Lakers, this is how they operate in the mess too. So they're like, we'll get our smear job out of everybody we want to and try to get rid of all these people. Like I think that it's as much that article from what I could like I just saw the head I just knew it existed. I didn't see anything from it. But it feels like the Lakers' new owner, Mark Taylor, doing his best to like rid himself of all this like stigma of like, listen, this is not how I'm gonna run things. Like you guys worry about your old stuff. We're gonna do some stuff differently here. This is the chaos it's been. So I don't know. Genie Bus is not a reliable narrator. I guess that's my biggest takeaway from the day. Then
Yeah, that's fair. I maybe they just send him to Washington with Trae and just see what happens.
and
I
Bronny.
don't. Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing that Jeannie Buss said. She said that LeBron didn't seem appreciative when they drafted Bronny for him.
Mm.
I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound like him. But I don't know. It's weird. Like I love. I would be lying if I said I didn't love that LeBron's still in the league because it gives us shit like this sometimes. And I agree, Steve. It's more of the same. My thing is Jake, I think this is kind of what you were getting at, unless you just meant to retire altogether. But I kind of want to see him off the Lakers. Like let's fully give this Lakers team to Luka, and it would have to be a contender. Like LeBron, I know I was joking, but he wouldn't actually end up in a Washington situation. But like, why not pair him up? Like maybe that's the Steph trade for right now, and just let Steph and or not Steph trade, but the Warriors trade. Like let's finally see it. Steph and LeBron in Golden State. I just think it would be better for basketball if LeBron moved on from the Lakers. And again, maybe that's far fetched as much as Steph being traded in the middle of the season. But I don't know. I think I would enjoy LeBron and the Lakers more if he moved on from that team.
Yeah, I kind of feel similar too. Like they're solid. It's fun to watch them play together, but it just doesn't feel the same, right? It really doesn't. Like it's not like you said. It's not LeBron's team anymore. It's Luka's team, and they're both guys that are. I don't want to say like egotistical, right? But almost in a way where it's like
On the
it's
court, they kind
Luka's
of
team.
are, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know
Yeah.
what? That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I mean. It's like so sometimes like it's fun to watch when it works. When it doesn't work, it's weird. And then everything off the court for two guys who are really, egotistical on the court just doesn't really play right. It just doesn't feel right to me. And that's also me just being so bitter that Luka's still on the Lakers. Like if I'm gonna just be honest here, that's really what it comes down to for me. Every time I watch like now I watch Luka, I'm like, oh nice man, he's got 36, 12, and 8 on the Lakers. Great. Whoop de doo.
Wish his jersey was blue.
Yeah. Well, Donnie, yeah, I do. So thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate that.
JJ Redick might get a little healthier. Maybe the blood pressure will go down a little bit if LeBron leaves the Lakers, because I'm starting to get worried about his well-being every time
Yeah,
they show a
true.
press
he's
conference.
he's not okay. He's not okay right now. Yeah, he needs to take a deep breath, hit
And then
some
not to
yoga.
mention
He needs to take Lane Kiffin's advice. Hit some yoga. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, bro? Get out there.
Every time I see a highlight on my phone too of like Marcus Smart throwing a full court pass to LeBron and LeBron dunking it, I feel like I'm in a nightmare. I'm like, well, I got to put my phone down for a few hours after that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You'll
but
be right.
yeah,
Jason Tatum's coming back. You'll be all right.
True. Yep. Just gotta look forward to that. Put the blinders on. Not consume as much LeBron Lakers stuff. Yeah, I'm with you guys. The Genie stuff's probably just her trying to get in the news, and I'm sure she wanted to say a lot of this shit for years. Like maybe it felt good for her to get off her chest, but I don't think anyone should be surprised by these headlines. And I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron doesn't comment on it at all. Because he probably doesn't give a shit.
The only headline that will surprise me revolving on is if Skip Bayless says he's the GOAT over Michael Jordan. That's the only one where I'll be like, whoa. Other than that, good or bad headlines for LeBron James, I'm just like, all right, what at this point? People just want to talk about LeBron until they can't talk about LeBron anymore, right?
And that
Yep.
day will come where it is going to suck when we can't anymore. But
Nah, we'll still talk about him. The people still talk about him.
Forever. He
Crazy.
won't let you stop it. That's the
Forever.
thing.
He's gonna be like
He's gonna have
Michael
7
Jordan, but
podcasts.
more in your face, right? Where
yeah,
obviously Michael Jordan lived on long after Michael Jordan was done playing basketball. Well, LeBron's just gonna be more in your face, like you said, Jake. Yeah, I think he's gonna be everywhere. Podcast, on broadcast, like he's
the Manning cast. Oh my God, I can see it now. The Manning
The
cast. with
LeBron cast.
oh the LeBron cast for like a
On
basketball.
ESPN, yeah,
Dunny,
that's what.
Dunny, ESPN might have to write you a check for that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
LeCast. The LeCast.
Who would be on the LeCast? What's the crew? Let's go. Three guys on the LeCast.
Ooh,
Maverick
K-Love.
Carter, Kevin
K
Love,
Love.
yeah.
Yeah,
How about
K-Love.
Mello? Can't be your teammate, but hey, you
Carmelo.
could be on the
Oh,
LeCast.
yes.
And one more. Like Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's got to be on.
Oh,
Yes.
that's a good
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
That's a
Yep.
great answer.
DraftKings segment.
Yep.
It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Your move,
But like-
ESPN.
We might have to put a
You
bet
owe us
on
a
the
finder's fee.
LeCast. We might have to
Yeah, we
bet
could
on
get
the
a bag.
LeCast. I feel
We
like
just
we
fully
could.
rebrand. We just drop Happy Hour
Yeah.
Hoops. It's just the LeCast.
The
The
LeCast
LeCast.
coming at you.
Oh, no. LeBron's not actually on this show. It's just our idea. We didn't want him to take it. Anyway, that yeah, I'm sure that adds to the weird NBA season, whatever that conversation is that we just had. But that's gonna do it, guys. Right? Anything else on the temperature check of the league or any predictions?
I hope the Mavs miss the playoffs. I hope the Mavs get a good lottery pick, and I hope somehow, some way, they get rigged the lottery first overall again, or 2, so they can get AJ Ibonsa. That's all.
Just that. That's nothing
That's
big.
it. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
nothing
all.
more, nothing less.
Darren Peterson would be great. Great consolation prize. I know a lot of people got him going 1, Ibonsa 2. I have it reversed. That's all.
Me too.
That's all.
We will do some sort of college check-in in the next couple weeks also.
Yeah, we might have to.
But that's going to do it for Happy Hour Hoops, guys. Presented by Trainwreck Sports. Thank you for listening. Follow us on all socials at Happy Hour Hoops 1. Subscribe to the Trainwreck Sports YouTube. And we will talk to you next time. Later, guys.